Was it something I said? Why, hello! How the devil are we? Good. Well, what's been occurring? Not a lot. Well, it's a week on from the 18 meet.
10 years ago, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
And I just thought, I haven't been out on the bike since. We've got rain tomorrow. I want to give it a clean if I can be arsed. But I thought I'd come out while I've got the opportunity. And first up, I want to say thank you to Ainsworth Rider, Solo Moto UK, the Silver Fox Travels, and Ian Hughes for coming down to meet me. It was a blast as always. I really did enjoy it. It's a shame Tame was busy. But this is the problem. We all lead busy lives, don't we? And the more people you try and bring in, the greater the chances that calendars will conflict. And it's a shame Birchie didn't make it. Blake's Pipes, where were you? About 3,000 miles away, but that's no excuse. Well, it is not. If you're going to have an excuse, being in Virginia is quite a good one, I suppose. I'll give you that. But no, it was a fabulous couple of days. It was heartwarming. They're such nice people, you know, and that's what it's all about. You know, we learnt a few things, I think, I hope. I mean, we had a set plan to do. Originally, the plan was go up Thursday, check into the hotel for 2 o'clock, go and do the ride, come back, unwind, and then Friday on your way. But of course it made sense, as James suggested, it made sense to do something on the Friday. And we know what happens to the best laid plans. They go to waste, don't they? Up below. But then this is what reservoirs do, isn't it? This is the whole point of a reservoir. So yes, it is quite low. Who's left a fecking boat in the way? I'll have a quick butcher's. Shut up. So what was I whittling about? Oh yes, best laid plans. So yeah, you know, as always, you end up with a bit of confusion over directions, especially when sat-navs are involved. You know, mine wants to go one way, Derek's is going another way, James is saying another way, Apple Maps is saying another way again. You know, it all depends on where the device considers a place to be. That little pin that it drops down. When it's passed, if you move the pin 200 yards, you come in a different way. Was it something I said? So there's always a bit of faffing. I think James was having trouble with his phone and his headset because he was using that for directions, and he couldn't get his clamp to fit onto his handlebars. So when we left Ladybower heading for Holmfirth, for some reason, and Derek and I have spoken about this subsequently, no idea why, it routed us through Hillsborough. In the video you might have seen I slowed it down. We should have turned left. Mine was saying left. James was expecting to go left and was indicating left. But Derek's sat-nav was saying straight on. And it took us through busy Hillsborough, which when you look on the map is bloody miles away. So it's a bit of a loss on that one. So I'm just waiting for this to connect because it will start YouTube music automatically. So I'll only have to switch it off. There we go. Yeah, so we missed out on what would have been a really nice route across the moors and down through the twisty bits. But having said that, I was none the wiser at the time, neither was Derek, and it's all part of the adventure, isn't it? As Roger the Lodger pointed out in one of the comments, we were at Ladybower and we were literally about 100 yards from the entrance into Snake Pass, which would have been nice. But time was an issue, and we wanted to do Holmfirth. In fact, we wanted to have a wander around Holmfirth, but it was just so busy. And I had a 5-hour plus ride home from there, and I think James was particularly conscious of that. Yeah, James was particularly conscious of that fact. So by the time we'd been to see Compo and Cleggy, put that down for you. By the time we'd been to see Compo and Cleggy and got to the cafe and had something to eat, you know, I didn't get home till 8:30 just gone as it was. Bearing in mind, I went up Thursday, did a day's riding Thursday. We didn't get back to the hotel till, I don't know, again it was gone 8, I think. So it was a long old couple of days. Which will bring me into how did the NT perform? And all I can say is it performed excellently. You know, did I have arseache? Oh, you bet you I had arseache. But I think anybody would, riding for 2 days straight. I've got the comfort seat on this, but it came on here. I don't know what the standard seat's like, I can't tell you. I might consider getting one of those wind rider seats, or whatever they call them, those mesh things. See if that helps a little bit. I'm going to have to open my visor because it's hot. The DCT came into its own, I can tell you. I know James was suffering a bit with the old arthritis pain in the hand, in the thumb. And coming through down into Holmfirth, the traffic was just nose to tail. Yeah. Well, they do, yeah. Musty. Yeah, I wouldn't filter through. Yeah. Let's hope it's not diesel. The traffic was nose to tail, and it was just start, stop, start, stop. I mean, on the motorway coming home, gravel. On the motorway coming home, there were parts of the it was just chocker, and we were filtering like crazy. And I got caught behind a number of vehicles, because what happens is Derek goes through, and then you get those assholes. You think, whoa, I'm not having bikes coming through, and they close the gap a little bit, or they just tend to drift over. I don't know what it is, or you end up with 2 lorries. And at one point, I was probably the best part of half a mile behind Derek. So DCT, no worrying about clutch and gears and all of that thing. That made a big difference. Cruise control on the motorway, you know, makes a huge difference. It really does. Fuel wise, I haven't reset the trips since I bought it. So as you can see, over the last 1,871 miles, it's averaged 59.2, which is pretty good, to be fair, isn't it, for an 1100cc? And bearing in mind, coming back on, you know, going up on the motorway, I'd set the cruise on here at 76, 77. So it starts sipping a bit of juice at that point. So fuel economy, cannot complain at all. Range on the tank was good. I didn't have any fuel anxiety. Foxy did when we left Winnet's Pass. He had he estimated he had enough miles left on his tank as it was to the hotel, so it was pretty important that we found fuel. And we went straight on past the first petrol station, but Derek thought it was shut. Whether it was or not, I don't know, but he thought it was shut, so we pressed on and stopped at the next one. Suspension, with the electronic suspension, it's really handy having the electronic preload. Set it when you got your luggage on. Done. No hassle. I forgot to set it to just rider again, having dropped all the panniers off at the hotel, but that's no problem. I did put it back when we stopped. Talking of panniers and top box, I have plenty of space. I brought far too much stuff. I'm one of those people that you think, oh, now what happens if this happens? I better take that. Oh, and what if that? I better take that.
A pencil and a miniature trumpet.
Yeah, a pencil so you can drop me a postcard to tell me how the breakout went, and a small little tiny miniature trumpet in case during your escape you have to win favour with a difficult child.
A Robin Hood costume.
Yeah, I put in a French peasant's outfit first, but then I thought, what if you arrive in a French peasant's village and they're in the middle of a fancy dress party?
And what if I arrive in a French peasant village dressed in a Robin Hood costume and there isn't a fancy dress party?
Well, to be quite frank, sir, I didn't consider that eventuality.
And I know full well that I'm not going to use even half of it, and I didn't. But having the capacity to carry it is a bonus. I think the heaviest thing was the chain that I brought with me to lock it up overnight. And carrying those two panniers up the stairs, up to the hotel, up the 2 flights, it nearly killed me. And then I got to the door and it wouldn't unlock the bloody thing. And the girl there is saying, well, sometimes you've got to try it 3 times in a row. I said, I've tried it 4 times. Oh, okay. It might be a duff card, so walk back to reception to get him to reprogram it. Screen, I'm probably going to change the screen at some point. It's adequate. But running it in the top configuration, you do get buffeting. And looking at the user groups, there's quite a few people who've changed it. Power Bronze do a nice screen, but the problem with, I think it's Power Bronze, could be Puge or whatever you call them, but it's slightly smoked. I'd rather have a clear one, to be fair. So I'd like to change the screen at some point in the not too distant future. This all worked fine. I did have one instance of the same old trouble. I flicked back to here, coming into Coventry. I was in Coventry, I'd just come into Coventry, and it wouldn't let me go back to the sat-nav. But I've been to Derek's a couple of times now, so I had a very good idea of where I was going, so it wasn't the end of the world. coming home, I had a problem, that age-old problem that anyone with a Cardo headset will appreciate, and that is the effing radio, which just seems to come on all by its own accord because it thinks you've told it to come on. So you get white noise in, and you're shouting at it to switch it off. It finally understands you, it switches off. But then, of course, what it's done is the radio channel knocks out the connection to here. So although it's all still connected, you get no sound. So that happened twice on the motorway on the way home. So I stopped both times. Second time I stopped to get fuel, and I just reset it, just flicked it off and on. So I've now disabled voice commands for Cardo. It's such an issue. It was bloody hot coming home. We stopped not too far outside of Coventry at the services, and it was, oh, I thought I was going to get heat stroke. It really was hot. And this jacket, yeah, I was cooking alive. But it wasn't raining. The only other slight grumble I've got with equipment is the DJI wireless mic setup. So if you're out all day and you want to vlog, I mean, you don't want to record all the time. I've just got hit in the face by something then. You don't want to record all the time. The mic, you have to switch the mic on, then you switch the camera on, and it can take, I don't know, anywhere up to 10-15 seconds for the mic to connect to the camera. So you can't just ride along and press the record button. So if the camera's off and you press the record button, it will switch on and start recording. But you can't do that with the wireless mic. You need to switch it on first, wait enough, you know, you check the mirror, oh, it's connected, now I can record. But when you switch it off again, the mic will automatically switch itself off after, I don't know, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, I'll have to check. But it auto switches off if it's not being used for a certain amount of time, which makes sense. But the problem is, as vloggers, we put the mic inside the chin bar of your lid, so you can't get to it to switch it on. If you're riding, that means you have to stop. So that's why so much of the footage that I took ended up with music over it, because I wasn't vlogging, I was just recording, because I didn't have a mic connected. It's like everything, there are compromises. So if you want a waterproof setup, this is the way to go. Wireless mic, your camera's buttoned down, you're fine. But it has trade-offs in that you can't just piecemeal click and shoot during the course of the day, because at some point your mic will switch off or your battery will run out if you've got to keep your camera on. But if you keep your camera on and you don't use it for 30 minutes, that will switch itself off. But if you go for a wired setup, you're then opening the door to the elements, because you've got to plug the mic in to the side door. I don't understand why. Why can't they? So GoPro do a door that goes on the camera. It replaces the current battery door. So you take that off, you put the new one on, and it's got some connectors in there. It's got a USB socket that plugs into the USB-C, and on the outside there are some contacts that allow you to connect a power lead and plug the power lead in, so that you could be charging all the time and it keeps the elements out. Why can't DJI or the likes do something similar? So you replace the side door that has the charging socket on it with a sealed rubber unit that has a sealed wire coming out of it as a microphone on a short lead which you can poke in under your lid. That would be a perfect setup. But the problem is, us vloggers, we're too small and too small a consumer base for that sort of thing. So I'm actually considering going back to a wired mic. I don't know. I mean, it's not often that I'm out for so long that I need to worry about it. And the only other thing that let me down was I bought a power bank and a Nui, I don't know what you call it. I did plenty of research. I wanted a power bank that you could fast charge and fast charge from. And so on the Thursday I was trying to charge my batteries up, and I left them in my top box all plugged in, and I come back to them a couple of hours later and they were still flat. And it turns out that that power bank is not compatible with the DJI. You plug it into the fast charge ports on the power bank and it can't do a handshake protocol. It delivers too little voltage and resets itself every second or so and just stuck in a loop. Okay, here's the power bank. It's got 67% charge in it. Here's my Osmo Action 4 with 30% charge in the battery. As you can see, there's an issue. It keeps resetting the charge. But it would charge my phone and other items. So I contacted customer support, and in the end they were very, very helpful. They replied back to me on a Saturday, within an hour of me contacting them, so you can't complain. And they gave me 50% discount. You know, they gave me a 50% refund. Because it works, it's just that it wasn't compatible for what I'd bought it for, which isn't their fault. So, you know, fair dues to them. Right, well, I'm going to go and make an effort to clean the beast down. Try out some of that Stardust spray that Derek very, very kindly gave me. Because Derek just can't help himself being very nice. And I will see you guys anon. Tatty bye.